Would you believe that there is a peace on earth heading our way that passes all understanding? Well, there is, even if current events suggest that the opposite is true. Sometimes the old order has to face destruction in order for the new to emerge. Yes, Gaia is facing birth pains that are set to test us all, and that is all part of a divine plan. Chaos is a prerequisite for change because without that, why would anybody step out of their comfortable existence? But as I like to say, life begins where the comfort zone ends. And like it or not, we're all going to experience life in the years ahead. It is, after all, what we came here for, to take part in this incredible shift of the ages. By 2030, nothing will be the same. Jeshua Ben-Joseph's words, not mine. So, to help us align with the truth of who we really are, away from the false matrix programming of our lifetimes to date, Yeshua takes us on a journey to build understanding as to the nature of consciousness and the human experience. Back to that moment when we chose to leave the unity, comfort, and safety of the primordial ocean in order to experience this journey into separation and the ego mind. Yeshua helps us remember our true divine nature and our true divine purpose. Of course, as ever, you get to decide whether this represents truth or deluded nonsense for you. Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show, where John is going to tell us more about it.
Yeah, again, last week we did the big Yeshua focus for Easter Sunday. But one thing became very clear in doing the research as we did for that show. There is such a story to tell behind this, which goes way beyond. And it kind of digs under the distortions that are in religion and the Bible about Jesus or Yeshua. And, actually, this is something I'll share with you straight off the bat. It's like, so last week in the comments, we had a lady who, I got it written down here somewhere, but anyway, she very kindly sent me details of another book, which is a Yeshua channeling. And this is the book. I'm going to just quickly flash it up on screen for you. That one, Jesus, My Autobiography by Tina Louise Spalding. It was very good to get this because I obviously I bought the book on audiobook, right? So because I like to have a nice good spread of what is on audiobook relative to actual physical books. Because that way I can get through so much more. I'm kind of already, in through the first 5 to 6 hours of that particular book, and it's amazing. It is amazing because it is an autobiography. It is Jesus telling his own story in his own words through Tina, and you get to understand the perspective, and it is very much like again the Pamela kind of Pamela Cribb. They're all very aligned as is the work of, say, Elizabeth April when she connected to Jesus as well. You know, I love the way that she saw the Jesus as a being, but it was like this giant kind of wispy coat kind of thing. And then realized that every single wisp that left the coat was answering another prayer or another outreach towards Jesus. So wherever people were in the world asking for Jesus's help, then this, like you'd get another little tendril would go off and make a connection somewhere else to provide answers and comfort and, amazing. So I'm really fascinated by this journey to understand the nature of Yeshua. And in return for this one today, we have Yeshua explaining the nature of consciousness and the human experience. And we're going to break that down into two parts. We're going to do part one this week and then part two of that next week, which again directly follows on from what we've got this week. And, I think that you will understand when you hear it. It's very deep. It kind of, and he even says that, this is, it's almost kind of beyond the human comprehension. So he has to break it down, a bit like he would break down spiritual ways into parables in the past, right? He's done this in a way that will enable us to grasp the concept of what, the nature of consciousness is about and where we came from and all the rest. Anyway, so that's going to be like the part two of the show. The first part is about Miriam. Um, Miriam Eliana Rosen is the lady's name, Jewish lady who in 2023 died during childbirth. And she crossed over and she met Jesus. Now, when we go into that, what you'll find is that we've cut off the first few minutes because, again, this show's all about brevity, is getting to the point. So that's what you need to know. She was in Manhattan. It was 2023, and she had crossed over. So we're going to get to that in a sec, in a moment, and it's really about the things that come through. Now, just to say that if you've been with us for a long time, we did actually include this some 10 months ago. The reason for repeating it now is that the message is actually very deep and it's very profound, but actually the timing is more significant now than it was 10 months ago. So it's a great time to repeat this and to go back into what is actually said and break it down into what we see in the world around us today. So I think that's where we're going to be heading. But before we do that, Jolé, can I bring you back in for your thoughts before we leap into that?
Absolutely. I find that that story that Pamela Cribb has written, or excuse me, I think this is the first one with the
The first one
channeling.
is the NDE, the yeah,
Yes, the NDE.
Miriam.
It is fascinating how Miriam takes us through that and the story at the end. And this show to me is very beautiful in the way in which it humanizes and grounds some of these concepts we think are so out there. So I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good point because I think that's the good thing about these books that we got, including the autobiography. It really humanizes everything. Instead of it being out there as a spiritual concept kind of thing, you realize this is all about who we are as well. You know, Yeshua is our brother, as it was stated last week, right? He, in fact, that's one of the things he says in the book. He said that if you want to think of him as the Son of God, you can only do so in the context that you too are sons and daughters of God.
Exactly, exactly. And that we have spent so much time looking at our brother, and definitely we want to follow in those footsteps in divinity. Nevertheless, the work is here, right?
Yeah,
And I think that what we are trying to do as Elevated Planet is restore the trust back into you, right? Because what religion has done a lot is it's taken our trust and self away from us, and now we've put it externally. But today we have the messenger himself letting us know, hey, I'm here for you, but I'm ground. I was in a body too, and greater works you shall do, right? That's in the good book.
it is. It is. And you know, you get to understand as you go through these works how that is in fact true, you know, and a lot of the healing and everything that goes on today from a spiritual perspective is exactly what Yeshua was doing, you know, a couple of thousand years ago. So a lot of people already have that ability now to bring that level of healing, and it's fascinating to think, you know, this is the heart-based Christ consciousness, the unity consciousness that we are now coming back into. So it's
Yes,
exciting, and talking of which, of course, we just released yesterday actually our latest Sarah Landon 11 spiritual roles of the soul, number 9, which aligns perfectly with Yeshua because it was for the way showers, right?
yes,
So
yes.
if you haven't seen that yet, there'll be a link on that at the end, and I recommend take a quick look at that
Yeah,
because I think amongst our community will be a number of way showers, you know,
yeah.
because it's one of the 11 attributes that we come together as a community around. So,
And the thing you and I were talking about, John, which is fascinating, is now we are getting a glimpse into those years where the Messiah was a hermit, so to speak, or those
mm,
that lost period of time until he reaches 30, right?
hmm
So, we're walking into some good stuff here.
yes. Yeah, no, it really is a fascinating thing to dig under the surface of, and as a community to explore this. And as ever, you know, where people have thoughts and comments that they want to share about this, And I know that these things can be triggering to certain people who are very steeped in the more religious and the biblical aspects of this. And, we totally accept that. We accept the fact that not everybody will see this. And in fact, I know when we put the show out 10 months ago, there was one person in particular who really did, he thought we were kind of batting for the dark side. But again, that is the way that that people are living their life and have come to see things. Now, I would like to think we're not, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, people are
Yeah.
fully entitled to the views that they have because that's who they are and that's where they are on their journey right now. So totally respected.
Yeah. Also, and we will see this being unpacked in this in the audio that we're about to play, because we are seeing the dark needing to come to the surface in order to, I guess, feed the light or to inform the light or to help the light glow more. So
Hmm.
we will take care of. I mean, I'm extremely triggered around this information too, because I was in a very religious community with Joshua and all of the things that that brought, right?
Hmm.
So I've also had to do some work around this myself. So in the meditation, we'll address being able to pull out some of these mind parasites and really get to the core of what resonates with you.
Yeah, yeah. Indeed, that's a really good point. And just to say, it was Silky who put that comment in there about the autobiography of Jesus. So thank you. Thank you if you're with us this week as well.
Yes.
Appreciate that. I'm a big way through that book now, and that is thanks to your intervention there to help us on the way. Okay, so is it that time then? We'll hit the button for part one.
Yes. Yes, it
Right.
is.
Okay, so you will hear the voice of Miriam. She has crossed over effectively, and it's basically what happens next.
It felt like a curtain being swept aside, and on the other side was light, brighter than anything I'd ever seen, but not blinding, not painful. It felt like home. And then I saw him. Standing in front of me was someone I never, ever expected. Jesus. He didn't look like the man I'd seen in stained glass windows or Renaissance paintings. He looked at me with eyes so full of understanding and love that I instantly felt bare, like he knew every thought I'd ever had. I wanted to speak but didn't need to. Somehow he heard me anyway. But I'm Jewish, I thought. He smiled, soft and kind, and said, I know who you are, Miriam. I've always known. That sentence, it broke something in me. All the religious confusion, the doubts, the inherited fears, it just dissolved in his presence. He began to show me things, truths I never knew I needed to hear. He told me that no one group had it all right, that over the centuries, every religion had warped parts of his message. They used my name for control, he said, not love. His words weren't angry, just heavy with sorrow. I asked him about Judaism, about why my people had suffered so much, about the Holocaust. His eyes filled with grief. So much pain done in my name by those who never knew me, he said. I felt my spirit tremble, not from fear, but from the weight of a truth too big to ignore. Then he showed me something that I still have trouble explaining. We were no longer just standing in that place of light. We were moving, but not with steps. It was like thought carried us from one place to another. Suddenly, I was looking down at Jerusalem, but not the way I remembered it from photos or stories. It felt different, almost like I was watching a future version of the city. I saw violence, missiles flying, buildings crumbling, people screaming and running in fear. My heart ached at the sight of it, but then, without warning, the chaos gave way to peace. I saw people embracing, praying together, and children playing in the same streets that had just been torn by war. I looked at Jesus, confused. What is this? I asked. He said, This is what's coming, but not in the way people expect. I asked him about Israel, about its leaders, about what he thought of them. And I'll never forget what he said. The heart of Israel has strayed. They've looked to politics for salvation when they should have looked to me. Your leaders mean well, but they are led by pride, not purpose. He spoke about Benjamin Netanyahu, saying he believed he was protecting his people, but he was being driven more by fear and control than by divine wisdom. That hit me hard. I had grown up being told to support our leaders, to never question. But now, Jesus was asking me to see with new eyes. Then he showed me something else, something that honestly made me want to laugh out loud. I saw Donald Trump standing beside Israeli and Arab leaders, signing some kind of peace agreement. I looked at Jesus and said, "Seriously?" And he nodded. "Many mock this man, and rightly so in some ways," he said. "But I can use anyone, even someone flawed. Sometimes, especially someone flawed." I couldn't believe it. Jesus told me that Trump would have a second term, and that during that time, he would be part of something historic. Not because he understood God's plan, but because he was willing to break rules others wouldn't. It wasn't an endorsement. It was a reminder that God's plans don't always fit into the boxes we create. The visions didn't stop there. Jesus showed me a growing number of Jewish people, rabbis, IDF soldiers, mothers, teenagers, seeing him in dreams, beginning to question what they'd always believed. "The veil is lifting," he said. "Slowly, painfully, but surely." I saw people crying out, wrestling with truth, some rejecting what they saw, others stepping into a light they never thought they'd accept. "But won't that cause chaos?" I asked. He looked at me with such gentle authority and said, "New life always begins with pain. What matters is what comes next." Then he looked at me, and his face grew more serious. "Miriam," he said, "you've been chosen to witness this and to tell others." I felt my heart sink. "But I'm just a teacher," I said. "I'm nobody important. Who's going to believe me?" He stepped closer, placed his hand over my heart, and I felt a warmth rush through my entire being, like every wound, every doubt, every failure had just been washed away. "You are mine," he said. "That's all that matters. Your voice will reach the ones who are ready to hear it." Then he showed me my daughter, the baby I hadn't even held yet. She was healthy, crying in the arms of a nurse. David stood nearby, his face torn between fear and love. I watched them, and my chest ached with longing. I didn't want to leave this place, but I knew I had to. "There's one more thing," Jesus said, "and it's the most important part." The vision shifted again. I saw religious leaders, rabbis, priests, pastors, imams, sitting in a circle, not arguing, but actually listening to each other. It was a peaceful scene, almost unbelievable. "This is coming too," he told me. "A time when my people will stop fighting over who owns me and start living as I taught." I was speechless. He continued, "The walls between religions will begin to crumble. Not because they are destroyed, but because they are no longer needed. Love will do what tradition could not." I shook my head. "That seems impossible." And he smiled. "With man it is, but with God all things are possible." That's when he showed me the Temple Mount, and there, right in the heart of Jerusalem, stood a new temple. But it wasn't like anything I expected. It wasn't a place of blood or division. It was open, filled with light, and people of every background, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, stood there, praying together. "This will be the third temple," Jesus said. "Not for sacrifice, but for unity. A house of prayer for all nations." I was stunned. But how? With everything that's there now, the dome, the conflict, and he simply said, "There will be a solution no one has thought of yet. It will be my doing, not man's." I didn't understand it all, but something deep inside me knew it would happen, because I had seen it. The final vision he gave me was unlike anything I could have imagined. I saw the world shaking, literally and spiritually. There were natural disasters, floods, fires, and political turmoil across nations. But I also saw breakthroughs, new technologies coming out of Israel that would change how we survive in a warming world, discoveries in Jerusalem that would challenge the foundations of all three Abrahamic faiths. Jesus explained, "The world is entering birth pains. What feels like destruction is really preparation. What's coming will not be easy, but it is necessary." I asked him when this would all happen, and he said, "Some of it has already begun, but by 2030, nothing will be the same." Then his eyes locked onto mine. "There's something you need to warn them about." His tone shifted, still loving, but urgent. "The greatest danger to humanity isn't climate change, or war, or even poverty. It's spiritual blindness. People think they're serving God, but they're only serving their own power and fear. They've wrapped my name in politics, hatred, and pride, and then wonder why they don't feel me." I felt the weight of his words pressing on my soul. "But they won't believe me," I said. "They'll say I'm crazy, religious leaders will twist it, and people will fight over it." He gently nodded. "Yes, they will. But truth always divides before it unites. And those who are ready to hear, will." He showed me faces, dozens of them. People who had come across my story, some by accident, some in desperate search. He showed me a young rabbi in Tel Aviv, a Christian woman in Alabama, a Muslim student in France, a girl who called herself an atheist but wept when she heard his name. "They'll hear your words and remember me," Jesus said. "This isn't about proving anyone right or wrong. It's about waking up hearts." I wanted to stay. The love I felt in that place, I've never experienced anything like it on earth. "Please let me stay," I whispered. "Let me stay with you." He looked at me, full of that same compassion, and said, "Heaven is your home, but your mission isn't finished." I didn't feel myself move. I was just suddenly being pulled, fast, painfully, back through that veil. The silence turned into sound again. The light turned into chaos. I gasped for air as my body returned to life, and I could hear machines beeping, people shouting, "She's back!" I later learned I had been dead for 9 minutes. No heartbeat, no brain activity. The doctors called it a miracle they couldn't explain. And as they brought my baby girl to me, warm and crying in my arms, I wept. We named her Eden, because that's what I saw. That's what I left behind. If you've made it this far, this story isn't just mine. It's for you. Whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or don't know what you believe, I want you to know something. Jesus loves you. He hasn't forgotten you. And he's coming not to divide us, but to wake us up. If this testimony touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. And remember, watch Israel. Watch the world. Because what's coming will shock us all.
And we are back. So what I find really fascinating about that, I mean, as I say, we put that out 10 months ago. And it was relevant at the time, because this was, when she passed, it was 14th of April 2023, before Donald Trump got back in for his second term. And then to have it explained to her that this is, part of the divine plan, that, he is a flawed person, but actually it seems that it's easier to kind of manipulate a flawed person because he's prepared to break the rules, right? Now, we know what's happened in recent times, and it's not something that anybody would clearly endorse because, this is pain and suffering inflicted in a part of the world and no resolution in sight. Now, I say that, but if you wind the clock back maybe 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, not too sure, but we covered the Galactic Federation outreach that Elizabeth April had done for which she does on the 11th of the month, so it would have been on the 11th of March. And one of the things, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was spoken about this, but it was explained by Edward. Okay, so he's one of our galactic friends, right? Who's part of the Galactic Federation, who is a rhino being, and he is the keeper of ancient inner earth knowledge. I don't know, this sounds so weird, right? But this is basically what came out. It was that the bombs and the wars are a physical replay from past battles and wars and injuries. This is replaying to clear the Earth Karma, same as it is happening at a human level, with issues coming back to the surface to be addressed. The bombs of the present can neutralize the bombs of the past to clear the karma of the in the law of duality. And there was much more about the ancient sacred sites as well that had been taken over, possibly thousands of years ago. But they're now being reactivated by star seeds and light workers and grid workers who are called to these ancient sites either remotely or physically to reactivate them. Energetically, things are being cleared in this traumatic way, which seems very paradoxical because, you know, we don't, most of us, right, would not endorse this war kind of situation. And there is an important point that came through that as well, which is about not actually consenting to whatever you see that doesn't resonate with you. You can actually just go in, because it's all an inside job, right? But we do not consent, or I do not consent to, and then you say, but what you mustn't do, say mustn't, what you need to kind of consider is that if you emotionally attach yourself to things that are going on, you are adding your energy to that. So what you need to also bear in mind that the perfect way to do that is to demonstrate your non-consent internally. You don't need to go on the streets and protest unless you really feel drawn to. But you find your divine neutrality. You find your eagle's perch. So you are not feeding the problem, right? But at the same time, this is karmic debt being repaid. This is being rebalanced at an earth level, the same way that we're getting our own issues put back to us for to be raised to the surface for us to clear, which is something that Jolé helps us with time and again. So really, I suppose that was the thing that I wanted to particularly focus on. I mean, I love the story. It feels so authentic, and it feels, again, having read a lot of stuff recently about Yeshua, to me, it just feels like it's him. Jesus, Yeshua, whichever. So, Jolé, what do you think? What did you get out of that?
I just her interactions and the way she's describing it and bringing all of these religions together, that is something that is beautiful. And if we can move into that, it would kind of create harmony in a lot of ways. However, the harmony, I always want to bring it back to us because as you were speaking about the karma that can be cleared from the duality, the polarity, right, of working
Yeah,
here
yeah.
to fix and change whatever went on. Just know that can happen with you. And you're like, how can I do that? But like I like to remind everyone, just keep it simple. Ho'oponopono is one of the best prayers. It's like once you get the wheels turning and then they get that momentum and now you're going faster. That's the beauty of this sort of chant, so to speak. And the fact that Miriam was able to speak to Joshua, the Messiah, also means that you have the capabilities. Neil Donald Walsh taught us that. Miriam is teaching us that. Um, the lady who wrote the book, Christie, is that her name? About the
Sorry, yeah. There's Pamela Cribb. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Pamela
Pamela. Yeah,
Cribb, what she's about to explain to us. So I want us to stop thinking we don't have access to that and that we have to go to someone else to get that access. It's right within us. And let's start remembering.
yeah, yeah. And I think this is, again, this is the stuff you get by listening to Yeshua as well. That's exactly what he was about. He was about empowering people to
Yes.
realize that they weren't under the, the religious constraints that they were kind of were tried to be imposed by those at that time. And he was very strict. So he
Yeah.
was the one who was giving them, he was the rebel, right? He was the one who was showing them that they had the power, exactly as you
Yes.
say. And to your point there as well about, the fact is she saw chaos. She saw the bombs, she saw everything, she saw, but then
Hmm.
she saw the resolution, as you say, which is the beautiful
Exactly.
thing. So it gets through the other side and it gets us into that world of unspeakable beauty. And I'll tell you another thing that interests me as well, because I was doing the editing on this, because we put out part one of my ramble with Rua. We put it out on Thursday. And if you haven't seen it yet, please do see that as well, because Rua is very wise, and I always get a lot of out of that. And it's about prophecy, but it's also about intuition. It's about the fact that our psychic senses are coming back online. One of the things that happened to her a few years ago is that when she was going into what she thought was going to be a past life regression, she actually went forward in time 200 years when she was like a city official in Jerusalem. And she was describing this, how it was. I mean, this was, it wasn't so much, I mean, we've got that in the show. It will be going out in 2 weeks' time. But she did talk about this in one of our previous rambles as well. And it's a beautiful place. And the harmony and the balance and everything there is so different to what we have right now. So absolutely, it speaks to what Miriam is talking about, her what she'd visualized for the future as well. I think that's where we're heading, a world of unspeakable beauty.
Absolutely. And also, to speaking of Jerusalem, we need to think about, like, critically what these stories were telling us about Yahshua the Messiah, in the sense that, did he have a domicile that he called his own? I mean, he was a carpenter, right? Or did he kind of look for the support and bring people together, and the material things around him were not that important? But when he needed them, he was able to materialize and manifest them. But this was not the focus. The focus was on opening hearts, raising minds and vibrations. And so let's not throw out those, or any energy that may look a certain way in this society. We have these rules and regulations, which oftentimes messiahs fall through the cracks.
Mm,
So let's let go of judgment and criticisms, and let's see how we can add value to not only our lives, but to the lives of others.
yeah. Yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest messages that ever came from Jesus within that autobiography book is about the letting go of judgment, not to judge at all, because we, the self-judgment or external judgment, but we're so encouraged into external judgment as well as internal judgment. It is something that really depletes you in terms of your vibration. So being able to escape that loop of judgment is something that will automatically elevate your frequency.
Correct. Yes. And that brings us right back full circle in a way to religion. And we need to think about the ways in which it programs us to do just that,
Yes.
to judge ourselves as sinners and other people. We have the right now to call you one, or to say your life is bad. So this is some of the stuff we need to work out, because it creates what? Dissonance, the inability to be able to move forward because you have two conflicting thoughts taking up space in your mind. So let's work that out.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So, shall we step into the next part now?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going back to the work of Pamela Cribb, who we featured last week in her work with Robert Schwartz for the Your Soul's Gift. But I'm just so glad I dug deeper under the surface of that now, because this piece here, as I say, which is the first part, we'll carry it on next week because there's a lot of ground to cover. But I find it really fascinating, and I hope you do too. So bear with me a second, we will switch screens. I am Yeshua. I welcome you. You are dear to me. I wish to tell you of an old pain that lies dormant in your consciousness. Many of your daily emotional difficulties and the turmoil that is within you stem from a primal psychic pain that I call the pain of separation. There is a wound in you, an emptiness that you keep trying to fill. In most of you, this primal pain is often unconscious yet present in the background because you are not aware of the origin of this pain. You try to solve it by achieving outer goals, the inspiring job that suits you, the ultimate lover, or the right lifestyle. If these remain out of reach, you feel unhappy, unfulfilled, and doubt the meaning of your existence. But the real cause of your pain is not attaining your outer goal. It lies on a much deeper level, the primal pain and wound of separation. I want to speak about the cause of origin of this existential void. Emptiness, when used here, is another word for separation. You experienced your first separation at the beginning of your journey as a soul when you were separating from the whole or unity. Mind you, when I speak of the soul and how it began or was birthed in time, we are actually crossing the border of what can be understood by the human mind. So don't take my words too literally, for in this story I'm going to tell you, I use images to make tangible how you came into being. Imagine that in those distant beginnings there existed a primordial water, a vast sea surrounded by the expanse of heaven. The celestial space in which the water is located represents consciousness. Space itself is nothing, at least not in the material sense. It is pure consciousness. The water represents life, movement, dynamics, and feeling. There was a time when you were in that water. Imagine you are part of the water moving with the current. You might feel your boundaries slowly dissolving. You melt into the water. It feels soft and pleasantly cool. If you vividly imagine yourself absorbed in that primordial water, you may feel that you no longer have a body. Your body has dissolved, and all you are now is a point of consciousness. You are one with the water and do not experience the limitations of having a body. You feel that the water surrounds you, and at the same time, you are the water. It is a strange sensation. Feel how, in that diffused self that you are, there arises a desire for air to breathe. This desire suddenly makes you focus. You identify with that need, and your awareness becomes fixed on that one goal: air and breathing. You've never breathed before, but something inside you knows that you want to experience this, and this something pulls and pushes you to the surface of the water. Suddenly, you raise your head from the womb-like sea and take a breath. You are incarnated. You are in physical form. You are a body that breathes. Feel that first deep breath and become aware of your physicality. The longing for the breath of life has made you a corporal being. No longer are you absorbed in the water, in the oceanic unity. You are now separate, independent, and autonomous, and what has brought you into that separation is the fire of your desire. This desire that arises from the masculine aspect of your consciousness as a soul is a creative desire. It wants you to break free from the oneness because it has a deep and passionate desire to experience life. The longing for selfhood, incarnation, and separateness is a creative desire because only through the self, through subjective feeling, does the experience of life become your experience. This feeling is subjective. You feel things in your individual way, which is not possible within the safety of the primordial sea. Because of separation, a limited self and subjective consciousness arise, along with duality and diversity. There are many incarnated conscious sparks who have their own perspective and their own experience. And this diversity brings problems along with it, a sense of fragmentation, and a sense of being in opposition to other individual souls at times. In the primeval sea you were one, and in that sense safe and secure. When you were ushered out of this oceanic womb, it was painful and confusing, because for the first time you felt disconnected. When you became an individual and are separated from the whole, it is a leap of faith for the soul, an adventure that beckons and at the same time disconcerts. This jump into duality comes from the creative fire of the soul itself, but at the same time it produces deep confusion, the primal pain of being cast out of oneness. You can compare that metaphysical primal pain with what happens when a little baby exits the womb and is born on earth. It leaves its safe environment and experiences the difference between itself and the outer world. The passage from unity to separateness repeats itself with each incarnation. Every time the soul takes the leap into the earthly domain and breathes in duality and diversity, it leaves the oneness to take on the adventure and the pain of incarnation. However, there is another leap into separateness after birth as an individual soul, and that is where you differentiate into male or female. When you identify with either gender, you move even further away from the oneness, because in principle, the soul is not polarized. It is both male and female. As a soul, you have lived many lives, gained experience in various places in the universe, and resided in many dimensions of density. The material density of Earth is unlike any other place or dimension where you have incarnated. There are more ethereal dimensions where it is easier to stay connected with your soul, where there is no separation yet between male and female. There you are, an androgynous being, and experience this as very natural. If you like, you can recall the memory of what it used to be like to have a body that was not gendered, not polarized into either male or female form. Although this androgynous state of being is more natural than the polarized one, your soul desired to experience that polarity, and your creative fire pushed separation even deeper. Like the first step, the second step, the split between the male and the female, was accomplished through a creative desire for fulfillment, and it was accompanied with an even deeper pain and loneliness in your soul. What you wanted to learn through this dual experience of separation is the ability to experience oneness and connection in a conscious way. In the primordial sea, you could not consciously experience unity because you were part of the sea, as an undifferentiated consciousness. Your state of being was diffuse, dormant and half asleep. It lacked consciousness. The desire for air, for breathing, is actually the desire for consciousness. The leap to self-awareness and thus to separateness is prompted by the desire for more consciousness. Not only are you created at that moment of separation as an individual soul, but you immediately become a creator yourself, a creative soul. You are now an I that gains experience and in time develops the ability to make choices and transform experiences into knowledge and wisdom. Out of this desire to expand consciousness, you connect with other conscious beings or souls, allowing for communication and interaction to occur. But there is no automatic sense of unity here, for these are all different subjective experiences, and each soul follows their own path. Unity must be brought about in a conscious way through the qualities of empathy, understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Through birth and separation, unity initially becomes shattered, and in the course of a long and profound process of evolution will be restored again through the heart. What matters to me is that the two leaps of separation that you went through as a soul were not errors or mistakes, but a creative decision that comes from the masculine aspect of the soul. I want to make this clear with reference to the second leap of separation that led to the division into male and female, the separation of the sexes. The moment the soul chooses an earthly life, it chooses a sexual life, and it is born into either a female or male body. The jump into an earthly body is very intense for the soul, and is experienced as an enormous narrowing of consciousness. In the celestial realms, where the soul usually resides before an incarnation, there is a sense of freedom and fluidity, which is difficult to maintain in the terrestrial sphere. When you are just starting to incarnate on Earth, you have to get used to being in a body. For that reason, the soul will often want to practice being the same sex for a while. When the soul is first born as a male, it will want to repeat it to gain experience and understand how life works in a male body on Earth. Eventually, this soul will also want to experience female lives to understand that perspective as well. Many, but not all souls tend to return repeatedly as either a woman or a man. They do this partly out of habit, partly out of a desire for specialization. Specialization is also a form of separation that allows you to experience one aspect of creation in all its nuances and depths. Right, and we're back. So next week we dig a little bit deeper, and it actually all makes so much more sense as well because, it teaches us how this journey into separation and duality gives us then the scope to come back even stronger into unity. And it's and to love, right? That's basically where we're heading. This heart-based Christ consciousness that we all have within us. We need to activate it, right? That's all we need to do is to activate it, to realize, to self-realize and step into our power. That's the beauty of it. I find it really interesting, but you know, the primordial ocean, and we've got the vision of the ocean and then separation from the ocean, and it kind of makes sense. It's a great way of creating a new modern day parable, if you like, to help, from a human brain perspective, to be able to grasp exactly what is being said. But I remember in the Convoluted Universe series by Dolores Cannon, there was a man who was being regressed through the quantum healing hypnosis technique. He was a Frenchman, and it was the first life he went back to, and he kind of realized he was in the ocean, and it was so peaceful, it was so relaxing. And he said, I feel I am in the ocean. And then he said, and I am the ocean. And he was like so at peace and loving being in this ocean and being the ocean at the same time. And it just made me think when I was listening to this, or like we were going through the book with this, how that was maybe a parallel to when he was in the primordial ocean before he then goes forward into the next lives. So that was his initial starting point, and from there he went into following into other lives and different kind of energy forms. So isn't it an amazing journey? I mean, here we are, incarnated in the physical form, and here it is. Like and this is another point, right? So the fact that to be birthed into the mortal physical body, we undertake a narrowing of consciousness. So we think about the expansiveness of the soul. And that also lends itself to what R.J. Spinner has said. We featured him a couple of years ago. And he was talking about this. And he was saying that the actual physical body maintains about 2.5% of who you are. 97.5% is in the higher self, but you have to actually tap into your higher self. You have to connect with your higher self to be able to access that. So that kind of gives you an idea. I don't know. I mean, I've not run the numbers. I don't know whether what RJ says is absolutely right, but I suspect it is because he's a man who's also traveled over to the other side and come back, and he's very, very connected. So, but it just helps you to make sense of what this narrowing of consciousness is, to come into the limitations of a physical body for this journey. And it's amazing. But to think that, 97.5% of me resides outside. Now, also this thing about the masculine and the feminine, and it's dividing up into what you're going to be, and for this life and subsequent lives and past lives and all this. So basically, that is an additional degree of separation. But at the same time, your higher self has more of the opposite aspects of you. So if I come down here and I'm in the masculine kind of thing, so we all have a masculine feminine balance, even whether you're a man or a woman, right? But obviously, typically, the man has more of the masculine, which means that my higher self has more of the feminine, which kind of then helps me to make a connection because I can kind of think of my higher self as more of the feminine side of me, which balances you back to the whole. That is the wholeness right there. So I think that's a really interesting thing as well. It is a fantastic explanation, and I've heard this a few times now because I did the wording on it from the book and everything. So I've had a chance to double down on this and triple down on it and all the rest of it, which really helps it to sink in. So if you need some repetition, you can go back over it. It's fascinating, really. And the childbirth metaphor, is a good one, really, to say that that's how we have, come into being, is that, through this pain of separation, one moment you're in the womb and you're kind of like in that sort of the primordial ocean, as it were, and then you are birthed out into the world and, into this alien environment, scary, painful environment. Yeah, I just think it's brilliant. I just love this, and this is only just a fraction of what is on offer in this book as well. So we're definitely going to be going back to this. Our androgynous state is a more natural state of being for us. But again, this is part of the fun, is dividing into a corporal body and then dividing again into masculine and feminine and coming down to the planet, which is the most challenging because we have the veil of forgetfulness. We forget all about our divinity. We get reprogrammed into the false matrix, and then we have to try and climb our way back out of it again. I mean, how brilliant is that? I just think it's quite amazing, really. But enough from me for now. I want to bring Jolé back in for her words of wisdom.
Hi, John. Yeah, but I feel like your words of wisdom were just really nicely summed up. And you really spoke to the how, about how to reconnect, because that's what I was thinking to myself, the how. And there's daily practices that we can take on just in and of ourselves to get comfortable with who we are. A lot of us are not comfortable. And that's where the judgment comes in, because once we see something that we're uncomfortable with, our inclination is to name it, label it, do something with it. And that's what Joshua is saying to us is, you don't label it. You don't do that. If you like it, you lean in. If not, you move away from that and you go towards what it is that you resonate with. And this is how we move to unspeakable beauty. But if we look at what's happening, it is that we're trying to control so much of what is going on. And that's our problem. Even with ourselves, we do so much with trying to control, where you said being intuitive. Dolores Cannon teaches us that, Pamela Cribb, that intuitive part of you is that the highest part. And you're like, well, how do I get in touch with my higher self? You just talk to it in your mind. Like, it's just
Mm,
having a conversation. And the thing is we've been programmed to believe that makes us crazy. Oh, you talk to yourself, just don't answer back. It's like you absolutely should be in dialogue with yourself, with your body parts. This is what makes you intuitive. But we've all been, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy. No, 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 no. It
yeah.
is really a part and parcel of becoming more intuitive, is having a dialogue and listening to, I didn't say the voices, there is a voice. And if you begin to hear that and work with that, all the other ones will resolve and dissolve themselves. So there are things we can do each day to make sure that we connect with our higher selves. And as we move into the meditation, you'll see more of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and again, coming back to the piece with Rua as well, which, again, anybody who wants to see that, it really does dig under the surface of the fact that the return of our psychic senses is underway. So I mean, for Jolie, I mean,
Yes.
you've been
Yes.
tapping into your intuition now for many decades, right? I'm still, I'm very much a work in progress. I've got my other attributes and stuff that I'll focus on. But I think it's really so important. And I just saw, and I think it was only like yesterday, Ann Tucker in her latest channeling was talking about, and again, this is what came through, like your inner child, right? And also your future self. And the suggestion was give them a name. And I was thinking, okay, well, that's not a bad idea because if I
Yeah.
think about my connecting with my inner child and I call it, Johnny One, right? Because it was the first one there, right? Johnny 1. And then I've got my future self, which could be Johnny 3, or it could be whatever I might call it Merlin because I want it to be magical, right? So future Johnny is going to be Merlin. So, but it kind of builds a connection. And the suggestion
Right.
was that by naming it, your ability to connect to it, you're giving it permission to make that connection. So rather than just thinking yourself as just one individual, we have these multiples within ourselves, and that's how one way it was suggested of making a connection.
Yes, and ritual tradition kind of even speaks to that because there is a practice which we've pretty much deaded, except for those of us that are, like you say, sleeper cells maybe, is that what is there? There is the virgin, the vixen, and the crone. There's this threefold pattern and phases that women go through. You speaking of the men, but men go through it too, but there's always these phases that in the past we prepared for. We gave information as you move through these phases. Now it's like the blind leading the blind. So that's why it's so important for you to listen to your intuition because although, the library in Alexandria was burned, and we have 30 miles of untapped resources at the bottom of the Vatican that teaches us more about ourselves. We don't have access to that, but Mother Nature does. She
Yes.
remembers,
Yeah. Yeah.
the trees remember, the ocean remembers. So know that you are the same thing that makes that up, makes us up. So it's just about learning to connect.
Mm, absolutely. So should we do it? Should we get into
Yes.
meditation time?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to switch back now to Miriam. You're going to hear the voice of Miriam speaking Yeshua's words. Again, a little snippet from earlier because that is the perfect way to lead us into Jolé's words of wisdom. So bear with me a second. Here we go.
The greatest danger to humanity isn't climate change, or war, or even poverty. It's spiritual blindness. People think they're serving God, but they're only serving their own power and fear. They've wrapped my name in politics, hatred, and pride, and then wonder why they don't feel me. I felt the weight of his words pressing on my soul. But they won't believe me, I said. They'll say I'm crazy. Religious leaders will twist it, and people will fight over it. He gently nodded. Yes, they will. But truth always divides before it unites. And those who are ready to hear will.
Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Bring your awareness to your chest as you begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. Your feet are flat on the floor, and if you're laying down, please keep them flat for the beginning part of the meditation. As you put your hands on your thighs face up or to your side, and you get comfortable as you focus in on the breath and the blessing of the breath, the blessing of the separation, allowing you to individuate as a divine expression of creativity. What a blessing. So, from this space of knowingness, of knowing your divinity, see in your mind's eye your future self. And as you visualize your future self, your energy is going to ground into Mother Earth with the grounding cord that is 6 inches in diameter, rooted, grounded into her essence and connected to your first chakra. Feel what it feels like to be rooted into her, into the power, the glory, and the remembering of Mother Earth. As your aura pulls itself in to be 1.5 feet around you, Your astral body snaps in, and the absorption of all of the information it gathered begins. And as your higher self stands at the power position, a comfortable distance above your crown. So take a deep breath in and exhale, and gently visualize your crown opening, or open your crown gently and see, feel, and or hear 100% cosmic, divine, gold life force energy. Where is this coming from? It's coming from the origin of divinity, the origin, the creator of all there is. Light-based, positive, unconditionally loving, supportive, beautiful, warm, accepting, unconditional gold love pouring down from the heavens. It creates a golden sun above your higher self. You could see it swirl around. It's beautiful. It's glorious. And then as that essence sustains itself as a golden sun above your higher self, the rest of it trickles down, raining down on the higher self 100% of this. So it is quite lovingly intense as your crown opens. And here, this gold light is gently going to come in to our head, our cranium. And what is it doing? It's going to go into the center of our head. And I'd like for you to visualize right outside of your ears, about 5 to 7 inches. Visualize 2 beautiful roses, one on the right and one on the left, right in front of your ears. We have what's known as mind parasites, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, programs that have been taught to us from religion, education, our genetics, anything that no longer serves nor resonates with us or our future self. We're going to go ahead and allow for this gold light to push out, eject, evict these mind parasites from our head. So as this gold light comes in, smooths over the neurotransmitters of guilt and shame, of past experiences that torpedoed our self-esteem, our confidence, and our ability to remember our power, this magical gold light is smoothing over those and opening up the synapses, firing faster, digging in those neurotransmitters that serve the future you and your purpose. So as these neurotransmitters are being grooved out, you see those parasites moving into the roses outside your ears. And so that gold light now is coming into the center of the head, balancing the pituitary and the endocrine, cleaning out any calcification of the pineal gland, getting into that prefrontal cortex, getting rid of that primal energy that keeps us stuck in those loops and those patterns that fail to serve us. Move them out. Move them into those roses outside your ears. As you allow for that gold light to just move down as it hits the spinal column, and it begins to turn it gold and all your bones and your arteries. As this gold light makes it down to the heart, it is so obvious the portal that is between your head and your heart. As this golden essence wraps and absorbs this energy, your heart absorbs this energy. This energy wraps itself around as it moves down into the liver, and expands into the lungs and the rib cage, your kidneys, your heart, your aorta, taking on all of this beautiful magical energy as it recalibrates and reprograms, moving out any DNA and genetic viruses or issues, creating a gut biome that supports your movement and digestion, a lymphatic system that knows how to move out waste, a nervous system that knows how to regulate itself in dysregulating situations, a respiratory system that knows how to breathe in and breathe out love, an endocrine system that is regulated. Your bones are beautiful. They're gold, the synovial fluid, the cartilage, the veins, the arteries. Every part of you has taken on this magical golden life force energy. You are a divine creator. Inside of you, your telomeres are going back to their original state. Your cells, your mitochondria strengthening, and all the minerals, the vitamins, the supplements that you need, the iron, the zinc, the selenium, the vitamin C, the B, all of that is coming into your body to be absorbed by your cells in the most divine and high vibrational way. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out gold. And as you breathe in, you're breathing in gold light. You're breathing out magic. You're breathing in magic, divine magic. As you are rooted and grounded into Mother Earth, as this beautiful golden light goes down your grounding cord. No need for the golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles as this gold light disintegrates, resolves and dissolves anything you're ready to let go of, anything you're ready to release, to take you into a new timeline. What timeline is that? The future one that you just created of yourself. So as you ground this new energy, this divine creator, powerful remembering energy into your body and into Mother Earth, name him or her. Name them. Who are you moving towards? As this gold light reaches the core of Mother Earth, as it comes from the heavens moves through your golden sun, your higher self, through you into Mother Earth and down to her core, solidifying divine creator energy. Reach out energetically for that future you. Because as you reach out, they get closer and closer and closer until that future you becomes you. You step into it. It does not step into you. You step into this beautiful divine being filled with cosmic gold life force creative energy has just stepped in to a new timeline that resonates with its purpose, the laws of the universe, resolving and dissolving the past and moving into a future of unspeakable beauty. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, experience your future self from a heart-centered space, from a knowingness, knowing that the Creator has your back, Mother Earth has your back, your environment is supportive of you, no matter where you are and what is going on. It is just one step away, the perception that you are worthy and deserving of a loving Creator and a supportive Mother Earth to have your back for you to resonate at a frequency and a vibration of unconditional love. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, and you have embodied this, I want you to say to your future self, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. As you just walk into this new you, just beaming with divine golden creator energy. As you take a deep breath in and exhale, this energy solidifies itself within you, and you solidify your energy within it. As you take another deep breath in, on the exhale, you can close your crown like the lens of a camera, and you see that earth, that golden life force energy ascend back into the heavens. And yes, that golden sun is still above your higher self, but this time we're going to leave it there. Because why? Because it's shining on your future. This sunshine, this golden sun above your head is to stay there because it shines divine life force energy on your journey. Take another deep breath in, and on the exhale, if your feet, your hands, or your heart was open, please close it gently. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful. I love the idea of leaving the golden sun up there, actually.
Yeah, let's just leave it for now because of what is happening in the world. And we want to mirror and project gold light, love. And it's just the easy way to do it is to just leave it there.
Yeah, yeah, and this thing about the mind parasites as well, I think
Hmm.
that's really powerful. And one of the things again that comes through with the Yeshua teachings in these latest forms that we now have them, is that he was very much into mind control, controlling his own thought process because he knew how powerful it was. Because when he went and did his pilgrimage, if you like, over and he spent time in the ashrams in India, he then went on into Tibet and all the rest of it. This is like at the monasteries and everything. This is where he taught or learned about these things and then brought them back with him
Yes.
ultimately. But it was very much about the mind because you know he was a human, right? And this is what he
Yes.
says. He would have thoughts which were definitely not serving him, but they were typical human worries, you know.
Hmm.
And at the same time, once he learned to control that, it made his life so much easier. And again, it's
Yes.
an understanding, you know, we create our own reality. Therefore, you focus on the things you don't want, you're bringing them to you.
Yes. And the gold light dissolved your roses outside your ears. Okay. So you're fine. Mind parasite's gone.
Yes, yes. No, that was really powerful stuff. Thank you very much, Jolé, as always.
Yes. And whenever you get those negative thoughts and judgments, that's just an exercise you could, walk yourself back off the plank of diving into the water cooler gossip. You put your roses up around your ears and you pull out all the negative thoughts, the judgments, the labels, and you just let them fall to Mother Earth and be absorbed. And that way, fill up with gold. And that way you can kind of have it a tool that can help balance you in these moments and also help you have a new behavior, right? Because nature abhors a vacuum. So once we say we don't want something, we to remove that from our life, we want to replace it with something positive. So this kind of helps our subconscious ease into no longer gossiping, labeling, judging.
Nature abhors a vacuum. I always love that. It always also makes me think about the Larson cartoons I used to love. You know, I'm going to put it up
Oh
here right
yeah.
there. I'm going to put it on there actually for when we do the edited version. Um, but yeah, it's really good stuff and it's powerful stuff. And I'm just loving this journey. And it's nice to think we've got that follow up next week for that particular piece there from the Pamela Cribb channeling, which again makes yet more sense of this journey as to how we came here. It was the desire for more consciousness that got us out of that primordial ocean. It definitely gets us in a lot of trouble. All this
Yeah.
this desire for more consciousness.
Yes, and just see your loved ones. I try to do this, to even help like we are not sitting across the table from each other. We're sitting next to each other, right? So that's a different visualization because you're not in competition with your fellow man. The only person you're in competition with is yourself and who you were yesterday, 5 minutes ago, whatever. Other people add value, add value to humanity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think we're into wrap up mode now. Yeah.
Yes, I think so too.
So, what do you think we need to remind people?
Like, share, and subscribe, please, as this it doesn't share itself, unfortunately. So
No, it
if you
doesn't.
can help us do that, it would be very,
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
helpful.
If it resonates with you, please do share
Yes.
it as to anybody that will get this kind of stuff. Because I know plenty of people that don't get it, so I don't share it. But for
Yeah.
those that do, it's nice to keep expanding our community, and it is doing
Yes.
so. So, I appreciate everybody's efforts there in trying to spread the word and get this out there because, we're here to have fun, right? That's part of
That's
the
right.
joy of life. That's when we
Yeah.
really know we're doing the right thing because we find joy in what it is we are doing.
Yeah.
And we're all pieces, individuated pieces in that giant cosmic jigsaw puzzle. And it's finding out what our piece is. But we know whatever it is, it brings us a lot of joy. And that's a beautiful thing. And that takes us to a world of unspeakable beauty.
Yes, it does. Keep on trucking, as they said in the 70s, right? Just keep on trucking. But know that golden sun above your higher self is there. Check in. Check in, listen to your higher self. I'm telling you, it will talk to you. And it's just we don't listen. So just try to open up to not think to label this experience.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, we're going to put the newsletter out tomorrow with the edited
Yes.
version of this show, which always has additional visuals and tidied up a bit so you don't get the grey bars in the way all the time and things like that
Yeah.
that happen when we're switching screens around. So do check it out. And it's a good one to share. That's a good one to share, actually, once that one comes out, and that'll be out tomorrow. So we'll be cracking on that straight away. And thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the
Thank you.
community for being with us today.
Yes.
And thank you to Jolé for your words of wisdom and for a wonderful meditation yet again.
As always, John, thank you as well.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week.
We will see you next week and maybe on Thursday at the Pan meditation as well. So
Yes, we hope
till
so.
then,
Bye bye.
take care.